Wouter Tulp is the illustrator of over 100 children's books and a character designer at Sony Pictures Animation. In this mini-series, Wouter shares with Bobby his love of character design, his techniques and processes, and gives us a peek into his newest Schoolism course, Conceptual Characters with Wouter Tulp. We hope you enjoy it!
So, Wouter, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with me. I wanted to talk about your new class on schoolism. Can you kind of give me an overview on what conceptual characters with Wouter Tulp is about?
Well, the idea for this course started with me when I found myself doing a lot of work for studios where it wasn't just about my drawing skills, but I was really asked to come up with ideas. And it is something that I think is sometimes overlooked. So I thought, what if I could share my process of coming up with ideas? And also because I feel that ideas can feel sometimes like such an elusive things that you can't grasp. But in my opinion, developing ideas also has a lot of techniques. You can have a lot of techniques to develop ideas just as you have for constructing perspective or adding light and color to your designs.
Now, of course, we're here to talk about your class, but I also just want to just have a conversation with you, especially because the whole entire idea of creating ideas is a very interesting thing to me. I'm in that space as well, and I always felt like it was interesting when people would say, "Okay, so here's the here's your project. This is what you're gonna design. We don't really know what it is yet. We want some good ideas from you. How long will it take?" And it's like, well, if I am building a building, I know how long I could possibly, figure out how long it'll take. But to have an idea of how long it would take for a good idea to appear in your head is kind of like, how would you figure that out? Now, I want to kind of hear your take on it.
Well, it is hard to really put a time on it. On the other hand, if they say you have 2 days to come up with an idea, you will, in most cases, you will have something by the end of that time. So there is a way where you can, I don't know, it's not really pushing the ideas, but it constructing your thoughts in such a way that ideas will evolve. And I think most of us will have had that moment where you're taking a walk or you're in the bath or when you wake up. Suddenly there is this idea that before you were really pressing hard and trying to come up with something and nothing happened. When you're in the bathtub doing nothing, suddenly there's this idea. And I think that's a vital part of the process, which in the course I call incubation, to really schedule time to relax your mind. So you start by filling your mind with all the information that you can. You start associating and searching for references and all kinds of input. And very often you will already have initial ideas. And most of the time, these are ideas that most of us will come up with because it's a combination of a couple of things. And we all, if I say a reindeer and a guy in a red suit, we all think of Santa or something Christmas related. But if you want to have an original idea, you have to dig a little deeper. And very often when you fill your head with information and you let it, you let it cook for a while without pushing too hard and let your brain do the work while you're sleeping, then often your mind connects the dots and great ideas appear.
I would love to expand on that. I've heard of like people, a lot of very high level, talented people doing that kind of stuff where they give their brain an assignment before they go to sleep, kind of thing. Like Hemingway, I heard that that's how he did a lot of his problem solving with his writing. So can we delve into that into more detail? Like when you've been observing a lot of stuff, you've been looking at all the material, understanding it. Now it's time to go to sleep. Do you still have all those materials in your head? You're trying to picture them consciously, and then you tell your brain, okay, figure it out. Like, how does that happen? How does that work for you?
Well, for me, I found that walking is a good way for me, better than sleeping even. So what I do, I read the assignment. I know what is expected of me, and beside the information that they give me, I try to associate, try to think, what does it make me think of? So then I start to add all this information that's not directly related to the subject, but sometimes has to do with my personal experiences or things that I have seen that I think are related. Maybe someone else doesn't even think it's related. Or sometimes something comes to mind where I don't even understand why it comes to mind, but it makes me feel of a kind of mood or atmosphere or color. And it's just without discriminating, just putting all the information in your mind. And then I go for a walk. And while I'm walking, still things come up, and I have a notebook, and I just write all those things.
Are you consciously trying to think of ideas, or are you
Yes.
just trying to go for a walk?
Well, at first, the first part of the walk is really consciously writing everything down that comes to mind. Um, um, Most of it are uh, ideas where you try to push, and you just sometimes you feel like you're stuck, and you feel like nothing's coming anymore. I have depleted all my resources, and this is it. And then that's the moment where I just start walking and just start looking around and stop thinking about it. And then suddenly there is this idea that very often it feels like you're walk, not literally, but in your mind, you're walking towards solving the problem in one direction. And it's like you kind of shift and attack the problem from a slightly different angle. And it's the same concept, but you connect the dots in such a different way. And it's like hopping on a different track or something, and then suddenly it opens possibilities. And what I found is there's unique ideas and there's variations. So it's important to make a difference between the two, because if you're not aware of it, you could be presenting variations of the same idea to a director, which is basically all the same idea, which is important because sometimes a certain iteration of an idea will work much better than another. But if you can present unique ideas, those are basically the doors to which that lead to all the variations. So if you can, I try to come up with as much unique ideas as possible, because for me, coming up with the variations afterwards is always much easier, because that's just rearranging the different elements of that idea.
That makes total sense. And when you say, like, when you're going for, then you start going for a walk and then you're not thinking about it, right? So if you really think about what you are thinking about as you're walking, what would that be? Is it you're consciously trying to blank out your mind so you're not thinking about the groceries and the television show? Because we tend to drift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if our mind is occupied thinking about some television show while we're walking, I doubt a lot of good ideas will come in as easily.
Hmm. Oh, I see what you mean. Um, I distinguish the several parts of the process. The first part would be the preparation. So that's really where I fill my mind with all the information. And then the incubation part, I think it wouldn't be a problem if that's where you think of groceries or something else, because I think subconsciously, if you have worked so hard to fill your mind and think about the problem for so long, I think it's a good thing to relax your mind and take a break from that problem. And playing soccer or watching Netflix or doing something that doesn't occupy the mind for that problem. I think that's really where the subconscious part of the brain starts connecting the dots.
Let me share something with you, and I think I wonder if it's the same thing. So we both have a lot of the same kind of assignments, kind of like this, and we would both fill our minds with as much info as possible. And for me, I'm filling my mind to the point where I will start thinking about this stuff whether I like it or not. Kind of like if people can relate to playing a video game and you play that video game so much. Like I remember playing Tetris so much that when I closed my eyes and was going to sleep, what do you see? You see Tetris pieces. You can't help
Yes.
but to move them around, whether you like it
Yeah.
or not. And that's what we're really talking about truly filling your mind to the
Yeah.
rim, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you so much for taking some time, and for those of you out there that wants to use this in practice, an easy way is definitely sign up for Wouter's class. He has a whole bunch of lessons all about conceptualizing characters. Conceptual Characters with Wouter Tulp on Schoolism.com.